I'm begging you, help me." Ksyusha took her friend by the hand and looked her in the eyes. "We need 3 people for this, and besides you and Alya, I don't have anyone else." "Well, I don't know. I'm scared of all that stuff." Tanya lowered her eyes. "But what if it really works? I'll go gray right away. You and Alya are so brave, and I'm such a coward. After that, I won't be able to live knowing that they really exist. I really hope this works." Ksenia's tone became more insistent. "Otherwise, all of this will be for nothing. I really need my mom to come. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to her. I was always working, always busy with something. I could never find time for her. And she asked me to come see her in her last days. It's weighing on me a lot, Tanya. I'm asking you, please help me lift this weight off my heart." "All right, I agree." The girl gave in to her friend's persuasion. Ksyusha started jumping for joy. After calming down a bit, she turned to her friend again. "We're meeting tonight at 2 in the morning at my place. I'll have everything ready by then." Tanya nodded approvingly. The girls said goodbye and went their separate ways. As night fell, Ksenia pushed all the furniture to the edges of the huge hall, rolled up the carpet, and barely managed to drag it to the wall. The girl was proud that she had managed to buy an apartment for herself in this huge metropolis. At every opportunity, Ksyusha never missed a chance to brag about her 3-room apartment in Moscow and the absence of a hairy hand, that is, wealthy relatives or other influential patrons. The only thing the girl regretted was that she never got the chance to say goodbye to her sick mother. She didn't have time to thank her for the life and the knowledge she had given her. Ksyusha's mother was a strong-willed and independent woman. She raised a strong character in her daughter, which helped her not to stop in the face of difficulties, but to overcome them almost playfully. After her mother's death, the girl visited nearly all the well-known fortune tellers and psychics in Moscow, trying to contact the person she loved most. Without a second thought, Ksenia gave her last money to these charlatans, just to talk to her mother again, to ask for forgiveness and say thank you. No one was able to bring peace to the storm in her soul. One sunny day, the girl decided to take a walk through the shopping mall near her house and treat herself to some new things. As she was leaving, a young gypsy woman, who looked no older than 30, approached her. She looked quite stereotypical, wearing a long velvet skirt and a loose satin blouse. Her thick black hair gracefully rested on her chest, impressive in its volume. Ksyusha had never seen such a well-groomed and beautiful representative of this people. "I see your sadness, girl." The gypsy woman came closer and gently touched the girl's cheek with her hand. The black-haired woman's large green eyes sparkled and filled with sorrow. "I can help you say goodbye." Ksyusha stared in fascination and couldn't say a word, as if she were hypnotized. After a couple of seconds, the girl snapped out of it. "What are you talking about?" She pulled her face away from the gypsy woman's hand and took a step back. "About your mother." The woman folded her hands in front of her. "We have a ritual that helps us communicate with our deceased relatives. I can tell you how to perform it, but you must promise that no one will ever find out how it's done. Communicating with the dead is very dangerous, and you can't let every living person into that world. Otherwise, the dead will enter our world, and chaos will break out." "But, how did you know?" Ksyusha listened, spellbound. She had already given up trying to contact her mother several weeks ago. "I am a hereditary witch. I can feel your pain." The gypsy woman smiled gently. "A few years ago, I also lost someone very close to me, and I still haven't recovered from it. Your sorrow can be felt from far away. What do I need to do?" Ksenia didn't like beating around the bush. My car is parked outside. Everything we need for the ritual is there. Ksyusha looked at her skeptically and raised an eyebrow. And your brothers are waiting in the parking lot. And then my organs end up in another country somewhere, with price tags on them. Thanks. The gypsy woman laughed in response. It's my job to make the offer. The woman turned around and walked away. Wait. Ksenia called after her. I want to believe you, but I'm scared. I know what people are capable of. The girl didn't want to offend the gypsy woman and didn't know how to put it more gently. You're not so pretty, kin. There are cameras everywhere now. Don't worry, let's go. Yeah. The girls headed toward the parking lot. Ksyusha slipped her hand into her purse and felt for her pepper spray. Ever since that time she was almost robbed in a dark alley, she always keeps it with her. With a deft motion, the girl moved the spray from her purse to her pocket. After going down the stairs to the second basement level, the gypsy woman walked along the cars parked by the wall. The parking lot was fairly busy, which gave Ksenia a certain confidence in a positive outcome for this adventure. The green-eyed woman stopped next to a large SUV, reached into the pocket of her skirt, and pulled out a small key fob. She pressed a button, and the car alarm turned off with its characteristic sound. At the back of the car, the gypsy woman slid her foot under the vehicle. There was a soft click, and the trunk door began to rise. It must be around here somewhere. The woman started moving things from side to side. I remember for sure, I brought it with me. Yes, here it is after all. The gypsy woman took out a small Ouija board with a planchette and turned to the girl. This is a Ouija board. The woman handed the items to Ksyusha. Have you heard of this? I've seen it in horror movies. The girl took the board and the planchette. But I thought it was just in movies. Is it real? Yes and no, the gypsy woman smiled. If you don't know how to do the summoning properly, it's nothing more than a toy to scare yourself and those around you. So how do you do it right? Ksyusha's eyes lit up with anticipation. She was already imagining how she would be able to tell her mom everything she had on her mind. There absolutely must be 3 people. It's a symbol of the Holy Trinity. The woman walked over to the open trunk and sat down. In the middle of the room, you draw a large pentagram with white chalk. You sit at the head of the star, and the other 2 sit on the sides, between the side and lower points of the star. You must all be inside the circle. If all 3 of you aren't inside the circle, you might end up summoning their relatives as well. So only you should be outside the circle. Ksyusha nodded approvingly. There should be lit black candles at the points of the star. The lights need to be turned off, and you must do this exactly at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's the time when Jesus died. Since then, at 3 in the morning, the boundary between the world of the living and the world of the dead is almost invisible. You'll have only 15 minutes. After that, everything disappears and you can only try again the next night. But I advise you not to overdo it. Not all spirits are good, and they might fully enter the world of the living. But that only happens if you summon them too often. The woman stood up and started rummaging through the things in the trunk. She took a small bag and pulled a little pouch out of it. Hold out your hand. Ksyusha obeyed. The gypsy opened the pouch and placed 3 cloudy, pale stones on the girl's palm. Each of you should have these stones in front of you. And now for the most interesting part, the summoning itself. She sat back down in the open trunk and looked at the girl. When you're all ready, place the board in front of you. It should be facing you and upside down for everyone else. Put the planchette on the board. You can place it anywhere. Then each of you needs to touch the stone in front of you with both hands. And you need to say these words, "World of shadows, we call upon you, Open the door for us. Let the spirit we seek break its rest. Ksyusha took out her phone, opened a note, and wrote down the words so she wouldn't forget them from all the excitement. If you've done everything right, the gypsy continued, the planchette will start moving on its own. Under no circumstances should you let go of the stones or have two people leave the circle. You can only touch the planchette after asking, "May we look at you?" If the spirit answers yes, then you can take the planchette and look through the glass. Maybe you'll see your mom. In general, you can ask anything you want, say whatever you want. Remember, you need to finish within 15 minutes. It's better to keep a clock next to you to keep track of the time. At the end, you absolutely must say goodbye to let the spirit go. If the planchette moves to the word goodbye, then you did everything right. Did you remember everything? Yes. Yes, thank you so much. How much do I owe you? The girl reached into her bag for her wallet. You don't owe me anything, the woman smiled. This world is already too harsh. Sometimes you just have to help each other out, for karma's sake. Thank you so much, thank you. Ksyusha approached the gypsy woman, hugged her, and almost burst into tears. You're so kind. I had almost lost hope. The woman hugged her back and tried to comfort her. Ksyusha wiped away the tears that had escaped, said goodbye to the gypsy woman, and headed toward the elevator. She couldn't wait to get home and start preparing. Entering the elevator, the girl looked at the board. It was a thin, rectangular wooden panel. All the letters on it had been burned in with a special tool. At the top in the center was a beautiful inscription, Ouija Spirit Board. To the left and right of the inscription were large answer letters, yes and no. In the upper left corner, there was an image of a smiling sun. In the right corner, a sleeping crescent moon with a star. In the lower left corner were angels. In the right, whimsical little devils with pitchforks. In the center, arranged in a semicircle and burned in with a beautiful font in 2 rows, were all the letters of the Russian alphabet. And beneath the letters, a large inscription read, "Farewell." At the very bottom, centered, were the 10 digits from 1 to 0. The elevator doors opened. The girl tucked the board under her arm again, checked that the clipboard was in her bag, and headed for the exit of the shopping center. At exactly 2 o'clock in the morning, the doorbell rang. Ksyusha ran to open the door for her friends, who had agreed to join her in her new adventure. Alya and Tanya entered the apartment. They took off their shoes and went into the living room. All the furniture was pushed up against the wall, and in the middle of the room there was a huge star drawn inside a circle. Thick black candles stood at the points of the star. The girls exchanged glances. From their faces, it was clear that they were starting to get nervous. I hope we're not planning to open the gates of hell tonight, Tanya asked in a frightened voice. I second that question, Alya said sternly. Of course not. Ksyusha smiled at the girls. Let's go to the kitchen for now. I'll explain everything to you. The friends went and sat down at the table. The hostess made 3 coffees with milk, set them in front of the girls, and began telling them about her meeting with the gypsy woman. She explained exactly how the ritual works. She assured them that they would only do it this one time. She started convincing them that everything would be fine and that, most likely, it was just another scam. Then why didn't she take any money from you? Alya interrupted her friend's story. She said that sometimes you have to help people. Maybe that means it really works. Tanya's fear only grew as Ksyusha spoke. She said you absolutely have to say goodbye, and the spirit will leave, the girl tried to reassure her friend. Plus, you'll be inside the circle, nothing will happen to you. You can be a little too trusting sometimes. Alya took a sip of her coffee. Haven't all those charlatans knocked the naivety out of you yet? It's not naivety. Ksyusha lowered her head, looked into her cup, and began to stir it. It's hope. Hope that there's still a chance to see her again. I'm sorry for asking you to do this, but it really means a lot to me. I don't have any other friends besides you girls. Oh, don't say that. Tanya, the most sympathetic of the three, immediately started to comfort her friend. We're here, we'll help you. Everything's going to be okay, Ksayu, don't be sad. Thank you. At 2:45 in the morning, the girls went to the hall. Alya and Tanya sat in a circle, crossing their legs between the side and lower points of the star. Ksyusha gave them the stones that the gypsy had given her. The girls placed them in front of themselves. The hostess took a lighter and began lighting the black candles that stood at the points of the star. When all the candles were burning, she turned off the lights. The girls fell silent, but nothing could be heard except the crackling of the candles. Ksyusha took the alarm clock from the bedside table, set it for 14 minutes past 3, and placed it next to her spot. Then she sat down and put the board with the planchette in front of her. She took the third stone out of her pocket and placed it by her feet, below the Ouija board. The alarm clock showed that the girls still had 15 minutes left. Looks like I did everything the way she said. Ksyusha glanced around and checked to make sure everything was in its place. Can we just get this over with already? I'm really scared. Tanya looked around nervously. She was starting to think she could hear some strange noises. Stop being such a scaredy cat, Alya said sternly. I'm scared too, Ksyusha supported her friend. I promise, this is the last attempt to make contact. There are only a couple of minutes left. Exactly at 3 o'clock, the girls touched the stones lying in front of them, and Ksenia began to recite, World of Shadows, we call upon you, open the door for us, let the spirit we seek break its rest. As soon as the girl finished, the planchette immediately twitched a little. Tanya gasped sharply and stopped breathing, terror in her eyes. Alya's mouth fell open in surprise. Ask something. Alya was the first to pull herself together. Mom, is that you? The planchette began to slowly move toward the letters, as if it was extremely difficult for someone to move it. After passing over the letters, the tip of the planchette pointed to the answer, yes. Tears immediately filled the girl's eyes. She barely managed not to cry and not to take her hands off the stone. Mom, I miss you so much, Ksenia said, holding back tears. Maybe it's not your mom. Tanya spoke up. Mom, what did Dad call me when I was a child? The planchette started moving from the simple answers to the letters and pointed its tip to M, then O, Y. A brief pause, and the planchette moved to other letters, spelling out the words, My Sunshine Lady. Tears streamed even harder from the girl's eyes. Is it true? My Sunshine Lady? That's what your dad called you. Alya realized from her friend's reaction that it was all true. Yes. The girl nodded affirmatively. Dad used to call Mom that when they were dating. And then he started calling me that too. No way. Alya couldn't believe her eyes. We shouldn't have started all this. Tanya started to get even more scared. She wanted to cover her face with her hands and run away from here, but she kept sitting and holding onto the rock. Mom, there's so much I want to tell you. Ksyusha looked at her watch. 5 minutes had already passed. Thank you for everything you've done for me, for everything you've given me. Everything I know and can do, it's all thanks to you, Mom. I miss you so much. The planchette started to move more confidently, spelling out, I miss you too. I'm sorry I was such an ungrateful daughter, Ksyusha said as tears streamed from her eyes. I miss you so much. The planchette spelled out, I'm not upset. Did you meet Dad? The girl asked. The planchette quickly moved to the answer, yes. Look how fast it's moving. It's like the spirit is gaining strength in our world, Tanya said fearfully. Let's wrap this up. The clock showed 10 minutes past 3. Mom, the girl began, Thank you for coming. I really do feel better. Now I can finally let you go. The planchette didn't move. Can you hear me? There was no response. Let's end this right now. Tanya couldn't sit still. Mom, I want to say goodbye. Suddenly, the planchette started moving chaotically from corner to corner of the board, then stopped and began moving precisely from letter to letter. Wait, I want to see you. Alya read out the letters the planchette pointed to. Ksyusha picked up the planchette and brought the glass up to her eye. The light from the candles was too dim to see the whole room clearly. And suddenly, a bulb in the chandelier exploded, creating a bright flash. Ksyusha saw that behind the girls stood a crowd of various dead people, and in front of them was some old woman. The spirit immediately realized that the girl could see her and lunged at the owner of the apartment. Ksyusha tried to scream, but her cry was immediately cut off, and her eyes began to roll back. What's happening? What's happening? Tanya started screaming in panic. I don't know, Alya tried to shout over her friend. Ksyusha's mouth opened wider than it ever could before. A few seconds later, the girl lowered her head and closed her mouth. The alarm clock started ringing, announcing 3:14. Ksyusha looked at the clock, turned it off, and wanted to say goodbye, but her voice disappeared, and some unknown force threw her against the wall, hitting her head. Her eyes rolled back again, and the girl began to emit an inhuman scream. Something suddenly tossed her up and started rolling her along the ceiling, occasionally slamming her head against it. The girl sat in a circle, screaming in fear. Exactly at 16 minutes past, Ksyusha fell from the ceiling and landed squarely on her feet. Finally, the girl said. Blood from the cuts caused by the blows was running down her face. Her friend screamed, jumped up, and ran toward the exit of the apartment. Ksenia raised her hands to waist level and sharply thrust them forward toward the girls. You were told not to leave the circle. The stones lying near her friends suddenly shot up and flew toward them. When they reached their target, they pierced straight through the women's heads. Blood, along with bits of brain and skull, splattered across the hallway wall. Ksyusha let go with one hand, but kept holding out the other. All 3 stones slowly floated over to her and gently landed right in her palm. The apartment owner clenched her fist, put the stones in her pocket, and headed for the exit. When she reached the girls' corpses, she stepped over them without a hint of regret, put on a leather jacket and sneakers, and opened the door. Pausing in the doorway, the girl glanced back, extended her fist toward the living room, and opened her hand, spreading her fingers wide. At that moment, the candles flew in different directions toward the walls of the room, igniting the furniture and curtains there. Ksyusha smiled and left the apartment, slamming the door behind her. After leaving the building, the girl looked around the courtyard. At that time, the residential district was living up to its name completely. Ksyusha wiped the blood from her face with her jacket and walked through the courtyard, glancing around. Suddenly, the headlights of one of the cars flashed for a split second. The girl nodded and headed in that direction. Approaching a large SUV, Ksyusha opened the passenger door and got in. Everything went well, Granny, came the driver's voice. The girl turned out to be stronger than she looked at first glance, the young woman replied. But I wouldn't be myself if I couldn't drive some girl out of a body. No wonder I'm already 623 years old. I'm glad you're with me again. The driver reached over and kissed the girl on the cheek. Though I'll have to get used to the body again. Enough talking, granddaughter. Ksyusha looked up at the top of the building. The apartment windows were blazing with fire at full force. There will be a lot of people here soon. Let's go to the camp. I need to get this body in shape. We'll celebrate my return, and then we'll visit my debtors. We'll grease their palms.